talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Got a very special guest making her debut on the show. It's Chelsea Connor. How you doing today, Chelsea?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming out, taking a little bit of time and, coming on here and talking to me. I appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, let's get right into it. Before we get into the fight stuff, I'd like to get to know the people that are coming on the show for the first time a little bit better, get into your background a little bit. Can you kind of just tell us where you were born and raised and kind of what growing up was like for you?
So I was born in Piqua, Ohio. That's where I live now. So I grew up on a horse farm. So I just kind of grew up as a hard worker. And so the transition into MMA and sports in general were always pretty easy for me. Working hard was something that was instilled in me as a young kid. So yeah, that's about everything on my upbringing.
Right. You mentioned sports. Did you play like the traditional sports throughout school and your childhood and whatnot? Like what kind of sports were you into growing up?
The first sport that I absolutely fell in love with would have been basketball. Which I'm a little short, so basketball wasn't really my sport, but I did love it. My 7th grade year, I actually ended up sitting the bench. So that's what made me go into cross country and track. So I
Nice.
ran cross country and track from junior high all the way up until my senior year in high school. And it wasn't that I really loved those sports. It was just the school that I was going to was a small school, and you kind of had to have a certain last name to be able to play sports. So I just ran cross country and track. I cheered. I started cheering, I think, my sophomore year, and did that all the way up through my senior year, just to kind of stay busy in that winter months, and I
Right.
wasn't just sitting too stagnant.
For sure. Definitely sounds like you were very active, like to keep yourself busy. How did that transition into you getting started in MMA? What was the beginning of that journey and how that looked like for you?
So I had actually planned to join the Marine Corps right out of high school. And I had their weight standards for my height was ridiculous. They wanted me to be like 30 to 40 pounds lighter than what I actually was. So I tried for almost 6 months to get into the Marine Corps. I wasn't able to. So that's when I found an MMA gym and just started training MMA and fell in love with it instantly. So
There you go. And then when you got into that MMA training, how did that kind of transition into you actually wanting to get into the cage and compete and actually fight somebody else one-on-one? Because there's a lot of people that show up to the gym and just train just to train, and they love doing that, but it takes a different, turn of your mental state to actually want to get into the cage and compete. So where did that turn kind of come for you?
the first day of training, I went in and not knowing what to expect. That was back in 2009. So training back in those days was much different than what today. There might still be a few old school gyms out there that, do like they used to back in the day, but it was just really, you walked into the gym and you kind of got called out instantly. Like, are you tough? Okay, go punch someone in the face and see if you can take a punch. And
Right.
they threw me in the cage like a month and a half into training. Like I really didn't have a lot of training.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't go into the fight being like a skilled fighter. I was just tough, and I was meaner than the girls that I was fighting. So it was a pretty quick, in the beginning, it was very quick for me. And like I said, it was more of a athleticism and mindset that I had that propelled me above my competition.
Right. And your fight nickname, you go by Tiny Tank. Where'd the nickname come from? What's the origin story behind that?
So it was actually a fan that gave me that nickname. I was fighting for King of the Cage, and they were wanting to call me the tiny tornado. Just
Mhm.
my fighting style is very, I'm gonna come forward, I'm gonna walk through whatever you're throwing at me, and I'm just gonna smile at you, and I'm just gonna keep on coming forward. I didn't like the tiny tornado nickname
Mhm.
because Torres's nickname, and I wasn't trying to
Yeah.
take someone. And I had a fan reach out to me, and he was like, "Man, you're a tank. Like you're freaking awesome." and you're tiny. Your nickname should be Tiny Tank. And I'm like, wow, that's actually super fitting. So that's how that came about.
That's awesome. Definitely a unique nickname origin story for sure. A lot of those nicknames come from the gyms or coaches or whatnot, but yours came from a family. That's definitely unique and a cool story for sure.
Yes.
You mentioned your fight style a little bit, but for those that haven't seen you fight before, how would you describe your fight style to them?
Painful. I'm just gonna come straight forward and smile on your face the entire time. I love fighting. That's just it's who I am. I've tried to be reserved about it and be very modest and humble, and not put myself out there as I'm this fighter, because a lot of the times I feel like almost like a caged pit bull,
Mm.
like people are scared when they hear that I'm a fighter. And once you get to know me and you understand my personality, I have a massive heart. Like, I love so many people, and it's not that I'm an angry, horrible human. I just love the competition of fighting. So I'd say that's kind of sums it up on me.
For sure. Let's talk about where you train a little bit. What gym right now do you call home? What's your home based gym? And then when you're in fight camp, what does that look like? Where do you cross train? Give us the whole scoop on where you get your work in.
Yeah, so I actually own Smileback Training Center. So that's where our fight team is located. It's here in Piqua, Ohio. Our fight teams is called Fightopia MMA. So we've had that gym. That gym started in 2008, I believe. That was before I was with them. We took some time off and closed the gym back in 2018. So the gym's been back open for about a year and a half, and we're growing exponentially. We really didn't expect to become this big.
Right.
But we've had a lot of really just awesome people helping us this time around. So just with the experience of being in it for as long as we were previously, people, and then we left the sport kind of, and I think people started to realize like the good that myself and my husband were really trying to bring to the sport. So it's nice that being back in it, people are seeing, the good that we're bringing. So we have a fight team of, we have, I want to say about 18 fighters. It's not like a huge, massive fight team, but it makes it nice to be able to manage.
Mm.
And we have all sizes. So back in the day, I used to train with just a lot of like big guys. So now it's nice. I have a few female training partners, which is cool. I've really
Right.
never had. So it's definitely growing. And honestly, I really don't have to do a whole lot of training when I am in fight camp. A lot of here in Ohio, I have a lot of people that actually come to my facility to be
Nice.
able to. So I've been super blessed and thankful to be able to, yeah, have people come to me. I've been doing a little bit of training going up north to Team Demolition. So that's been good, and they have a lot of people up there, so I get some different looks and things like that.
Nice. So you and your husband own Smileback Training Center with the whole fight team and whatnot. Do you guys do all the cornering for your fight team as well?
Yes.
What's
Yeah.
that transition like for you from going from being a fighter to now being someone who's in the corner of the people that you're coaching as well?
It's really tough. It's really hard to juggle that. That is the side that I don't like so
Mm.
much. If I wasn't fighting and competing myself, I would love it. It's always nerve-wracking to see someone that you really care about get in there. You'd rather be in there yourself fighting them
Right.
for them, and you always just kind of second guess, like, man, did I do enough? Did I push them enough in the rounds? Am I giving them the right advice and things? So it can be stressful, and it's definitely a juggling act.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Let's talk about the training center a little bit more. What was the origin story about, like behind that? Why did you guys want to start this facility? What kind of services do you offer to the people that want to come in and train? Just give me like that story a little bit. I'm interested.
Yeah. So, like I said, back in the day, my husband had opened Fightopia, and we had just a lot of people that weren't like really dedicated to, they would say they wanted to be a fighter. And then once you come in and get punched in the face, like you realize like, oh, maybe I don't
Right.
maybe I like it as much as what I saw on TV and thought it was cool. So we were dealing with a lot of people like that. We were having to basically, we were paying the bills to keep the gym afloat. We didn't offer kids classes, women's classes, things like that. Um, so when we closed and reopened, we knew we had to do things differently. So that's where the rebranding of Smileback Training Center came from. We wanted to have it be more inviting. Just the name, because when you say Fightopia, people are like, oh, that's a pretty aggressive name.
Right.
So Smileback is way more friendly. And so we went with that, and we now have the kids classes, the women's classes, just beginner MMA classes as well.
Right.
So that's been massive and huge. We're not having to pay bills to keep the gym open. So that's been really great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations on that, and continued success to you guys in the gym. I'm very excited to see the growth of you guys as well, because it just definitely sounds like a cool facility that you guys got going over there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's get into your fight history a little bit. You are currently 2-3 as a professional, coming off a big win at SCS Renegade Rumble 6 in Ohio. I understand this was your first fight in Ohio in what, 8 years? How did it feel to come back, fight in front of your home crowd, and get such a dominant, unanimous decision victory that night?
It was amazing. My fans, they mean the world to me. They are so awesome. They do travel. A lot of them do travel when I'm fighting out of state and stuff. So it was a pretty big treat for them to not have to travel and be able to see me live right there here in Ohio. It was really awesome. I was a little disappointed going into the fight, just because the girl didn't make weight, which we knew that was a pretty big possibility that was going to happen. So it was what it was. But I had actually gotten injured like 2 weeks before the fight, and so my performance, it was dominant, but I could have finished the girl in the first round had I not been injured. But you never go into a fight really healthy, so it is what it is. I've fought injured before, so I still got the win. So
Exactly. That's all that matters. A victory is a victory at the end of the day. So congratulations on that one. You mentioned the weight miss from your opponent. Did that change? Obviously, it ended up changing the weight that you guys and ended up fighting at after the weight miss. But what were you guys scheduled to fight at? And then what was the move to after the weight miss?
we were scheduled to fight at 125. We got a call. We weighed in on Friday. We got a call on Thursday saying, hey, can we get a catch weight at 130? So we said, yeah, whatever, just show up and fight me. Like this, we've waited so long. Like I didn't care if she weighed in at 160. I was still gonna fight her.
Right.
Waited too long to not fight here in Ohio. So she showed up almost like an hour and a half late to weigh in. So I was already in the mindset, shit, this might not be happening, but she showed up, clearly didn't even try to make weight. She was 133 and a half. So make the catch weight.
Yeah.
And thankfully I weighed in at 127 and a half. So they were able just to bump the fight up to bantamweight. So it's 135. So
yeah, that's tough. Definitely quite the adjustment, and it's definitely just a part of the game that's super frustrating when you go in and you put the work in that you're supposed to, and your opponent does not. But it ended in a victory for you, so that's the good news. In your career, we've seen you fight at a few different weights. This one obviously not on your accord, but going forward, what's weight class would you like to call home, and what weight do you feel most comfortable at?
I'm definitely going back to 115. So this last fight, I was wanting it to be at 115, but they couldn't find any 115ers to come here. So I took the heavier fight, at, like I said, it was supposed to be at 125, which still isn't, I cut a little tiny bit to get to 125, but really not. That's kind of where I'm walking around at. So, 115 was definitely what I was wanting to do. But like I said, after fighting Aline Pereira at 125 and just having that massive size advantage that she had on me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make the cut to 115. It's not a comfortable, easy cut for me to make 115. But I know that's where I dominate in that weight class. So yeah, my next fight will be at 115.
Awesome. Definitely looking forward to that. You mentioned it though, LFA 160 versus Aline Pereira. Comes in with a lot of hype, of course, former Glory title challenger, sister of Alex Pereira. But even before we get to that, you were on a 5-year layoff before you took that fight. Can you speak on, your time away from the sport, and then why you think June 2023 was that right time for you to make your comeback?
So I took time away from the sport to have another kid. So I focused when I really dedicate to something, or when I say I'm going to do something, I'm all in. So I wanted to focus just on being mom. I have a 12-year-old, and then now we have a 4-year-old. So I spent I'd say 2.5, 3 years just kind of really focusing on my kids.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter has spent years and years and years in the gym. She's just been my little sidekick. So she kind of needed some time away from it. We started doing backyard football with some of
Nice.
the guys that were getting ready to go off to college, because that's right when like COVID hit.
Right.
And so we had a whole bunch of high school football boys that were getting ready to leave for college doing crazy football stuff in our backyard. My husband's a football coach as well.
Oh, nice.
So I started hopping into that stuff. We had a little home gym that we were doing some boxing stuff and things like that. And I was doing a little bit of wrestling, but nothing serious like what it actually takes to actually fight. I was doing stuff and enough just to keep it fresh in my head and stay in somewhat shape, but I was still in mom shape.
Right.
So after I had stopped, because I nursed my son for almost 3 years, and after I stopped there, that's when I started picking up my training and focusing in on, hey, let's make another run at it. And we were supposed to have our own MMA show here in Troy, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to be the main event on that. And then I actually got a call asking if I would take the Aline Pereira fight, which was the day before our show.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really tough call to make because I wanted that warm-up fight before I went and fought someone like Aline. I really
Right.
needed it. But with that name, I was like, I can't pass up that opportunity. So, and I'm so glad that I took it. Although I lost, I am so happy that I got to fight for LFA. They treated me incredible. The promotion's great. So, it was a win-win for me all the way around. I knew like it was going to be a tough fight. But I went in there confident. I thought as soon as I could get her to the ground, it would be over because she is a kickboxer. She
Mm-hmm.
really doesn't do a whole lot on the ground. But her and her team prepared very well for me and was able just to keep me away with her range. And I got her down one time, but it was at the end of the first round with like a second left. So I really didn't have time to work. And then she hit me really hard in that second round where I was like, holy smokes, that's the hardest that I'd ever been hit in the cage. And I'm like, wow, she really had the power to knock me out. And I do not say that. I would never give anyone that amount of credit if it wasn't true. So I knew like I had to just play that fight smart and, just kind of, I don't want to say that I ran from her because I engaged and got my shots when I could, but I didn't want to get knocked out. So I had to be smart and kind of game plan on the fly of like, how are you going to manage this without getting knocked out? Because she definitely possessed the power to knock me out.
Yeah, with that, the size advantage that she had, of course, you fighting, up a weight class from what you typically would like to fight at 125 instead of 115. Accepting that fight going into it, what was the mindset for you going in, knowing the opponent that you're going to be standing across from, how much bigger she is than you, the name that she carries, the hype that she carries for a big promotion like LFA? What was the decision going into that fight? for you when you took it as to like what your mindset was going to be going in there?
I really thought I was going to smash her. I was like, man, this is going to be the biggest win of my life because I'm going to get her down and she's not going to be able to stop what I have to offer. You
Mm.
know, like I 100% went in there. Even when she walked in the cage and she looked like a giant compared to me, I was like, sweet, like this is going to be great. I'm going to take her down and I'm going to get a quick, easy finish. So like I said, when that didn't happen, I was like, oh shit, this is a fight, you know? So, the mindset was just go in there and do what I do.
Mm.
And unfortunately it didn't go that way, but I'm still not upset with how I performed or anything like that. You know, a 5-year layoff was a really long time. And I remember being back in the back and I'm like, man, I'm not nervous. Like everyone thought I was going to be nervous. I thought I would be nervous.
Right.
And there was no nerves. I wasn't scared to get in there. I loved every second of it. Like I said, LFA did an amazing job putting on a great show. They made me feel so welcome. I understand that they're trying to build a Laney right now. And I know the girl that she had fought before me kind of was really upset with how LFA treated her.
Mm.
And I can't say that they treated me bad, you know, like
Right.
I guess she did not have a good experience with them, but I had a great experience with them. So it wasn't when I walked out of the cage knowing that I lost and everything, it really didn't, you know, bother me that much, which is crazy because I hate losing. Like
Yeah.
not something that I would really ever say, but with who it was against in the 5 years off, it was okay.
Right. With that being your comeback fight after the 5-year layoff, did it kind of, ignite that fire in your belly again to get back in there and compete? Because I know sometimes after a long layoff, you don't really know what to expect once you get back in there again. But did that give you everything that you were looking for, even though the fight didn't technically go your way?
Yeah, 100%. And I honestly, that was my mindset was like, I just want to see if I even want to do this
Mm.
again, you know? And I honestly think had I fought here at home for my gym's promotion, I probably wouldn't have gotten that fire back. I would have probably just been like, oh yeah, that was cool, whatever.
Right.
I'll people up whenever I feel like it. I wouldn't have gotten serious. Like I like that LFA fight and being able to fight on that stage and know I can hang on that
Mm.
stage. I'm like, what am I doing? You know, like I need to do something in this sport and I need to put myself out there because that's kind of one thing that I've always done is not put myself out there, you know? So um I have a new manager and everything and he's really helping me like get all the social media stuff together and really build my presence of who I am and what I'm about. So
For sure. And I guess that begs the question then, when's the next time that we could possibly see you inside the cage? Do you have anything kind of going on behind the scenes that's in the works? Or do you have like a dream scenario where the next time you get in there, when do you think that would be?
so I've heard LFA has a Vegas show in December, I believe. I would love to be on that. But I was also told that there's no female fights on that show. So I don't
Oh,
know what exactly is going on there. From what I've been told, LFA is wanting me to fight for them in January. So we'll see what happens, what's offered on in the meantime. I'd like to get another fight in before the first of the year, but right now I have a little injury that I'm nursing, so I
mm,
go tomorrow to get an MRI on it and figure out what's going on there, and then that will kind of determine how quickly I'm going to be able to have that turnaround fight.
definitely. I could speak for everybody that's a fan of you that watches you fight. We're very excited to see you get back in there. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But of course, go take care of the injuries and everything that you need to take care of. Get back in there 100% healthy, and we'll be expecting you to put on a show like I'm sure you will. We are close to the first of the year. 2024 is right around the corner. Ideally for you, looking at 2024 as a blank canvas, how many fights do you think you would like to have ideally if it could be up to you?
Um, Up to me, I would like uh minimum 4, max. I mean, I would say 7.
Mm.
If I 7's a lot of fights to get in one year, but I think um depending on, if I get another fight in by the end of this year, fight at the beginning of next year, I know I'll want like 1 or 2 from January to June. June is when we're going to be putting on our fight show here in Troy, Ohio. So I'm the main event with that show. So I have to make sure that I'm healthy and don't get injured too, so there's not a fight like booked too soon. And then after the June show, we plan on kind of like going out with a bang on that one and getting a pretty big fight opportunity after that.
Nice.
Whether it's a Dana White Contender Series or whatever that is, whatever big promotion, I think after my June fight, I'll be picked up somewhere.
Perfect. Hopefully everything goes according to plan. Like I said, very excited to see you get back in there. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and talk to me. Before I get you out of here, do you want to give any shout outs, any sponsors you need to shout out, anything like that before I let you go?
Yeah. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's Chelsea Connor MMA. Shout out to Endless Ink Tattooing, Shore Chiropractic, Shore Thing Wrestling. And I think right now, shout out to my manager, Drake. He is amazing.
He is. You definitely got a good one for sure. Drake's a good dude.
Yes, he is.
All right, Chelsea. Thank you again. I appreciate the time. Best of luck in the future. And then hopefully I'll be able to talk to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank
Got
you.
down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.